Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday morning. It is the weekend, it is match day tomorrow, and we are back with another massive show to bring you guys this morning. But before we jump into that, I ask one small favour of you. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. So on the show this morning, we're going to be talking about a double bid that has been submitted. We'll also be exploring, will Mason Greenwood return to Manchester United in January? He is apparently, there are photos of him back in Manchester at the moment with his fiancée. Does that mean something, or is he just back for a holiday? We'll, of course, be looking into that. There was photos that appeared of him shopping in Manchester, I think it was yesterday. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that at length. We'll also be talking a bit about Andre Onana, who could potentially be delaying his start to Africa Cup of Nations, which I think is interesting. And we'll also be doing a little bit of a look ahead to the transfer window. Obviously, the transfer window opens in a couple of days' time on Monday. So we are a couple of days away from hopefully starting to have a bit of a solution in the Jadon Sancho issue. Obviously, Donny van der Beek will go to Frankfurt. There's lots of stuff that's going to happen in the next kind of 48 hours. So we'll be talking about some of that as well. As always, I invite you to have your say on all things Manchester United in the comment section below. So do get involved. Let me know your thoughts and let's get straight on into it. So let's start off with this double bid that has been submitted then, because I think that's obviously the biggest talking point of the show this morning. So the two players that bids have been submitted for, now this is players that Manchester United own, okay, is Dangor and also Alvaro Fernandez. So we'll go through both of the stories together. So the first one is about Dangor. Very, very good player, I think. Somebody who could definitely follow in Kobbie Mainoo's footsteps. I think, well, from what I have seen of Dangor so far, I do think he looks like a really, really solid player. Obviously still very young. I think he's got a big future ahead of him, only 19 years of age, obviously come through the youth academy. Really, really good player. Obviously occupies a similar position as what Kobbie Mainoo does, that kind of central midfield position. I would love Dangor to stay, and I would love Dangor to follow in the same path as Kobbie Mainoo, because I do think there is a talented player there. Whether or not he will become a world-class world beater, I don't know personally, but I think he is definitely good enough to keep in and around the Manchester United squad. Now, the story that we're hearing this morning is that apparently Dortmund are set to submit a significant bid to sign Dangor in the January transfer window. It says Dortmund hold a long-term interest in Dangor and are prepared to bid for the player in January. I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, to be honest, because we know that Dortmund are the type of side who identify young talent, they bring them through, they develop them, and then they sell them for ridiculous amounts of money. Like, that has been Dortmund's model for a long, long time. They did it with Jadon Sancho, didn't they? They bought him from Man City for, I can't remember how much, but not very much, I don't think. He played there for, 2 seasons, Jadon Sancho? Was kind of on the brink of the Man City squad, wasn't really getting any game time. And they go and sell him for 85 million euros to us. I'm just having a look now. They paid 20 million euros for Jadon Sancho. He was there for, I think, 3 years. And then they sold him for 85 million euros. These are the types of deals that Dortmund do. Dortmund have got a real eye for talent. They've done it with so many different people. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But for me personally, I wouldn't be selling any more of our, young prospects. I just personally wouldn't. I think he's good. I think he's somebody who could definitely break through. The Destroyer says Dangor is nothing special as Mainoo stopped acting like he's a good player. I think that's a little bit harsh, to be honest. Like, what have you seen of him? What have you seen of him that makes you think he's not a good player? Like, I think that's a little bit harsh, personally. He's 19 years of age. I think from what we have seen of him in the very small amounts, I think he's looked good. So for me, I would keep him personally. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. How much do you think is a reasonable amount of money if we were to sell Dangor? I mean, I'd be wanting somewhere around 20 million. If Jadon Sancho was sold to Dortmund for 20 million euros, and I don't think had he played any minutes for Man City before that? Just having a look now. As far as I'm aware, he hadn't. He was in the under-18s. Like, if Jadon Sancho's worth 20 million euros to Dortmund, then surely Dangor's worth around the same amount, on the brisk of the Manchester United squad. Yeah, Jadon Sancho didn't play a minute for Man City before he was sold. He played in the under 18s Premier League. And then he moved to the Bundesliga. So if Jadon Sancho is worth 20 million when he went to Dortmund, I would be asking for something around the same for Dan Gore personally. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Obviously, Manchester United are in a bit of a precarious position at the moment where they need money. We're out of the Champions League. Obviously, we're not even in the Europa League. That's apparently cost Manchester United around 20-30 million. So yeah, we've got to be quite careful. And I can see why United are looking at potentially selling players who they maybe feel aren't going to make it into the first team. But I think we've been stung with situations like this in the past before. I think selling James Garner to Everton for such a small amount of money, I think that will probably backfire on us. Obviously, James Garner seems to be doing quite well at Everton now. I've got a couple of friends who support Everton, and they were telling me that Garner's apparently doing better than that Amadou Onana guy, who United reportedly would pay 50-60 million for, So, yeah, for me, I would keep him. Obviously, in the summer, we got rid of quite a few of these youth prospects, whether that was right or wrong, like Zidane Iqbal, Omari Forson. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with this one. But for me personally, and somebody says in the chat, obviously, Matish Kovar was another one we got rid of in the summer. I don't really understand it personally. Obviously, you have to trust the manager, but now we don't trust the manager anymore. Not because he's not done good or anything like that, but it's now going to be Ineos' job to make these decisions, which fills me with a little bit more hope, to be honest, because, the Glazers were probably saying to Erik ten Hag, either you sell Dan Gore, Alvaro Fernandez, or you don't get anybody in January, which isn't how it should be. So hopefully Ineos come in and they kind of take over the sporting side, as we're being told, and they make these big decisions about what will happen with the youth players, not Erik ten Hag, because I think that's the wrong way to do things. But right, let's move on to this other bid that's been submitted, and this is coming in around Alvaro Fernandez, and I think this one, to be honest, is even worse. So the story this morning is that Benfica are set to submit a £6 million bid for Alvaro Fernandez. 6 million. And it says that Manchester United have already been in contact with Granada about the possibility of breaking his loan deal in January, with Manchester United to assess the likelihood of selling him immediately or this summer. I mean, £6 million for somebody who is clearly a good player. Like, I think that's stupid, personally. 6 million. That's really not very good business. Again, you should be looking at 15-20 million at least in the modern day, and I genuinely think Alvaro Fernandez has a future at Manchester United. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good prospect. I think he's following the right path. He's gone off on loan in La Liga. He's played 12 times in La Liga this season at the age of 19, obviously in the left back position. He went out on loan to Preston, I think it was last season or the season before. We should be giving these players opportunities. The same with Ahmad, the same with Pellistri. Like, we need to start planning for the future. We do. Because let's be honest, right? Luke Shaw, he's our best left back at the moment. He's 28 years of age, which doesn't sound that old, right? It's not. But in 2 or 3 years, you're probably going to have to look to replace Luke Shaw. He is injury prone, I think, Luke Shaw. I like him. I think he's our best left back, but I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. His contract's till 2027, Luke Shaw. That's crazy. So we've got Luke Shaw for another 4 years, but what happens after that? You'd hope that they would be bringing through a new left back. Could that be Malacia? I mean, I don't think so personally. From what I saw of Malacia last year, I wasn't that impressed. I thought Alvaro Fernandez, from what I've seen of him, looked slightly better. And we literally don't know what's going on with Malacia. I haven't heard a single thing about him for what feels like a lifetime. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Paul says Benfica are taking the mickey. Yeah, 100%, mate. Al says keep Alvaro Fernandez. He is our future left back. Yeah, I would agree with that. Joe says Luke Shaw is decent, but we can do better. I probably would agree with you there, mate. I don't think Luke Shaw is a Premier League winning left back. But then, arguably, is Zinchenko a Premier League winning left back at Arsenal? I don't think so personally. Yeah. But I would agree generally. I don't think, Luke Shaw is the player who's going to win us the Premier League. I don't think Diogo Dalot is either. I don't think Johnny Evans is. I don't think Lindelof is. I think we've got quite a few players through that squad that are good, they're decent. They're probably good enough to play for a West Ham, to play for a Brighton, maybe. But I'm not sure they're good enough to play for a Man City or a Liverpool, personally. Would you rather have Trent or Dalot? Like, obviously, you'd rather have Trent. Would you rather have Robertson or Shaw? That's probably a little bit more equal. But you get where I'm going with this. Digital Sports Update says Fernandes for 6 million is not fair. It's a stupid price. Yeah, absolutely stupid. The Destroyer says Mark Gerardo was a generational talent and we sold him. Yeah, I mean, that was another person we sold in the summer, wasn't it? I don't really understand it, and I don't really see where we're going with our youth going forward, But what I will say is this, right? This is why we want Jim Ratcliffe. This is why we want Sir Dave Brailsford, Paul Mitchell, Jean-Claude Blanc to come in and to really, really get a hold of this situation, because otherwise this conveyor belt of players that we used to be able to bring through is going to stop. At the moment, I'm quite excited about it. We've got Kobe Mainoo coming through. Obviously, Rasmus Højlund's only 20 years of age. Garnacho's only 19. We've got this real spine of youth. Even the centre back, what's his name? I can't remember his name. What's the new centre back guy? Let me try and remember what his name is. The French. He's 18-year-old. He's French. Let me have a look. He started against West Ham, didn't he? And he looked pretty good. I don't want to get his name wrong. Cambuala. That guy. He looks good. I would be happy to start seeing these people get some game time, because I think times need to change. I think we need to start promoting youth. I think we need to start focusing on the players that know what it means to play for Manchester United, and we need to stop, spending £100 million on players who come in, they try their best, they work hard, but it just doesn't work, and then we're just left burnt with a massive check in the situation. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Irvin says, respect to you, Kieran, because you're still excited about transfers. I lost interest, but I'm more excited about Garnacho playing on the right wing. He was so good. What do you think where he should play? Mate, 100%. Garnacho was unbelievable on that right wing, and obviously Rashford is much better on the left wing. So I'm really, really excited about that dynamic. What does this mean for Antony, though? Because there is no way on earth that Erik ten Hag could now drop Garnacho. He got 2 goals against Aston Villa. He probably should have got a hat-trick, realistically. What does he now do with Antony? We can see that Garnacho is best suited on that right side. We can see that Rashford's best suited on the left side. Maybe Antony just becomes an impact sub. I think he would work well as an impact sub. I've seen some people in the fan base, which I'm not sure I fully agree with, but I'll open it up to the chat. Some people are saying that they think Antony should be turned into an inverted fullback at right back, because obviously he works hard. He's quite good defensively. He's not great going forward. So it's like, why are you putting him so far up the pitch when he doesn't cross the ball? He doesn't really take on a man, but he is good at tracking back. He is good at defending. The more I think about it, maybe it could work. But the fact that you're having to, change your €100 million signing into a right back to fit him into the team, it's a little bit concerning, isn't it? Because for me, Garnacho is the future. I just don't see that with Antony. He doesn't excite me when he gets the ball. Every time Garnacho gets the ball, he tries to take on a man. He tries to create something. Antony just slows down the play. He gets the ball, he stops the ball, he looks around, and then he usually passes it backwards. Garnacho, his first thought is run at the other team, and that gets people off their seats. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what Erik ten Hag does with this, to be honest. I think, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if Antony can play on the left either. Is that a possibility? Maybe Antony plays on the left, Garnacho on the right. I don't know. The thing we always have to remember, though, at the end of the day, is that, players do get injured. So it's easy for us to say Antony will never get any game time. For all we know, Rashford could get injured. Garnacho could get injured. Obviously, I don't want that to happen, but this is football and injuries do happen. So it is important that we have a big squad. It's important that you do have Antony hungry on the bench, waiting to come on, waiting to make an impact. Yeah. CT80 says, have you heard about United being in for Kimmich? I've heard nothing about that, mate. And I'll say this now, right? The only way that United would get Kimmich is if Casemiro went. I mean, the only story I can see at the moment is that apparently Man City are interested in Kimmich. Me personally, I would rather just keep Casemiro at this point, because Kimmich will be another one of those ones, right, where you pay probably, I don't know, how much would Kimmich cost you? Probably 60 to 100 million, I would imagine. And they'd probably want 400 grand a week. Like, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So for me, I'd probably say no to Kimmich personally. But yeah, I can see it here. The Sun are reporting Manchester United are interested in signing Joshua Kimmich from Bayern Munich. I mean, the only way, like I said, I could see that happen is if Casemiro went to Saudi, maybe Varane went to Bayern Munich, and maybe Manchester United somehow do a deal then where, you know, they say, we'll sell you Varane for 20 million, we'll buy Kimmich off you for 60, and then they sell Casemiro to Saudi for 40, you know? Like, it is somewhat believable. Do I think it will happen? Personally, no, I don't think so. And would I swap Casemiro for Kimmich? I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. It's not like I'd 100% yes, I'd swap him. You know, it's kind of a 50-50 for me. Fred says, how many chances does Antony need to prove himself? Yeah, I think for me, right, I always give players 2 seasons. So last season, I think he was okay. I think that's a fair, you know, he got some big goals in some important games. Antony, he scored against Barcelona. You know, he did okay. He wasn't good by any means, but he was okay. This season, he's been awful. So at the end of this season, I really will evaluate how he's done. The same with Højlund. You know, this is his first season. Next season, I'll still give him the chance. And then the season after that will be when I really start to criticise or look at how he's performed, you know. Right, let's talk a little bit about Mason Greenwood then quickly before we wrap up the show. So Mason Greenwood is back in the UK at the moment. He's been pictured in Manchester with his fiancée shopping. So he is back here in the UK. And it opens the question of, will Mason Greenwood be returning to Manchester United in the January window? Now, we know that yesterday Getafe submitted a 40 million bid for Mason Greenwood, which apparently has been rejected. I think that's right. I think that's far too little money to reject. And Milas is asking, how is Greenwood suitable for Real, Barca and Atletico? All of those clubs are apparently interested in signing him, but he's not suitable for United. Where is the logic? We know why he's not suitable for United. It's because of all of the politics, all of the situation around what happened in the past. And it's all because of the English media and all the rest of it. That's simply why. Al says, I still don't understand why Erik ten Hag thought Antony was worth 100 million euros. Remember, he had the veto power. Yeah, I mean, you have to criticise Erik ten Hag for that. Flying Dutchman says, is Mason Mount supposed to replace Christian Eriksen? I would imagine so, yeah. I would imagine so. We'll have to wait and see, though, won't we? Christian Eriksen is back in training. Casemiro is back in training. Martinez is back in training. Things are starting to look up in the injury department. I think within the next month, we will see our best starting 11 on that pitch. But the thing we have to remember is, right, Casemiro and Martinez have been injured for months. So they're not going to be able to play 90 minutes. They might be a little bit rusty. So we're going to have to give them some time. We'll have to give them a bit of patience. But I am feeling a bit more hopeful over the next couple of months. Obviously, results went in our favour last night, I would say. Let's have a look at the table quickly together before I wrap up the video. But obviously, Arsenal losing to West Ham. I mean, that's crazy. Arsenal are throwing away the title already. I know it maybe seems a little bit premature, but if you're genuinely thinking you're going to win the title, you've got to beat West Ham at home. So obviously, and Tottenham lost to Brighton as well. So we are now we're 5 points behind Tottenham, which isn't terrible. We're down in 7th place, 2 points behind West Ham and 6 points off Man City. I still don't think we're going to get top 4, but those results last night did go in our favour, to be completely honest with you. To only be 5 points behind Tottenham, who had already won the league after 5 games. That's how the media were reporting it. It's not good by any means, but I think we're in a reasonable position based on our injuries, based on the squad we have at this moment in time, based on the fact that we don't have a director of football and all the rest of it. We don't need to break down, but just think about this logically, right? Newcastle are in 9th. Like, we're 2 places above Newcastle. Nobody's calling for Eddie Howe to be sacked, are they? So just remember that sometimes, okay? Newcastle have got an unlimited amount of money. They've recruited better. They've had a manager for longer. And we are 2 places ahead of them at the moment. So just let that sink in for a second. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I'm not sure what time I'll be live this evening because I'm going to Wales for the day. So there may not be a video tonight. It depends what time I come back. It's about 2-hour drive either way. So yeah, if I will be, it will be later than 6, but I can't promise 100% because I don't know what time we'll be getting back. But if not, I will obviously be live tomorrow morning. Thanks to everyone who's watched. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video before you go. Please do subscribe. Have a lovely day, everybody, and speak to you later.